I do want to welcome in Congressman Adam Smith now, Democrat from Washington. Representative Smith, it's good to see you again. I appreciate you being on tonight. There's a lot to talk about. Let's start with the fraud issue. We see VP Vance announcing this new Assistant Attorney General role to deal directly with the fraud. He says it'll start in Minnesota, then Ohio and California, of course, another big blue state. Do you believe that this role is needed? And if not, what is the best way to tackle this?
Yeah, no, I think it's probably very appropriate for the Justice Department to go after fraud, particularly within federal programs, Medicare, Medicaid, definitely federal programs. A lot of the child care programs are funded by the Fed as well. And I think fraud is a significant problem, and the Justice Department ought to work in cooperation with states to get after it and stop it. I mean, part of the problem is the way that President Trump's administration approaches this. They froze funds for, I think it was 5 Democratic-led states for child care. Now, a court ruling blocked their ability to do that, but they seem to target Democratic states to cut off money. Many of the states had not yet been accused of fraud. He was cutting off their money. Meanwhile, Mississippi had a major fraud problem as well. But that's a red state, so we don't talk about that. So Trump's incredibly partisan approach and the use of the Justice Department to target his political enemies undermines the credibility of these efforts that are very much needed. Now, we need to make sure there's greater accountability in these programs. And I know in my own state, we had a major problem with unemployment insurance during the pandemic. And we need to be more rigorous on the state level. But it should be done in the name of good government, not in the name of targeting political opponents for partisan advantage.
Do you believe that's what we are seeing right now, the targeting of political opponents?
Well, I don't think that's debatable. I think that's absolutely part of what we're seeing. Now, it's not all of it, as I said. I mean, there's fraud in these places. But when President Trump came out and, as I pointed out, cut off the funds for all child care to 5 different Democratic states, several of which had not yet been accused of fraud, I mean, I don't know what else you could conclude. So like I said, let's go after the fraud. Absolutely.
Yeah, Congressman, what would you recommend? What would you like to see happen? How do we go after fraud both in red and in blue states?
Well, I think the Justice Department is taking the correct approach in terms of going after it. You don't just cut off the funds without an investigation. You track the money, you investigate. And again, a crucial part of it, work with the states and the local governments that are implementing the programs. I mean, they're losing money on it as well. And let me just say, I have been personally frustrated. I'm a Democrat. I'm in a blue state. I think the state of Washington, I think King County, the areas I represent, have not had the level of accountability they should have. I think too many nonprofits are able to get government contracts without proper vetting. Our own King County auditor reached that same conclusion about a wide variety of dollars that were sent out to nonprofits. So yeah, we need to be more rigorous about it. And I think state and federal authorities should cooperate.
Focusing on Minnesota tonight, there have, of course, been these protests there and across the country this weekend in the wake of the shooting that killed Renee Good. What is your takeaway from these demonstrations and the events of this week?
Yeah, no, I think it's all predictable given the way President Trump approached immigration enforcement. To begin with, he ran for office saying he was going to target the worst of the worst and go after criminals. Well, they're going after a lot more than criminals. I mean, they're pulling kids out of schools. You've seen all the examples. I mean, they're yanking people out of cars. You've had U.S. citizens arrested and detained without probable cause or due process for extended periods of time. There is a complete lack of respect from this federal government for the rights of individual citizens, even as they go about what needs to be done, which is enforcement of immigration laws. But then you look at the advertisements and the memes that President Trump and others have sent out. It's like they don't just condone excessive use of force by law enforcement, they encourage it. I mean, you had President Trump posting that thing about an apocalypse now meme going into Chicago to wage war on the city of Chicago. He's created an environment where too many ICE officers and others are looking to escalate, not de-escalate. And I think that needs to change. Enforce the law, but have respect for the law that you're trying to enforce and de-escalate. Don't escalate situations, as we saw in the tragic case of Renee Good. That was clearly escalated by ICE officers to a direction it didn't need to be escalated to.
Representative Adam Smith, appreciate your perspective, appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks for giving me the chance.
All right, we do want to turn to some breaking news just coming into our newsroom tonight out of Washington.